Hello, I'm Clark Farley. Regular viewers will notice a distinct difference in the set here. I'm sitting here alone in a different place from our office. This is still, however, the 20-minute real estate briefing with Clark Farley and Denise Fasaro. At this point, normally Denise would be saying something to the effect that we're coming to you from the Westerly branch of Randall Realtors in Westerly, and how this whole series of 20-minute briefings was originally conceived as, all right, let's do something to help buyers and sellers with information. Let's not do long lectures. Let's keep it to 20 minutes. And most importantly, let's use the accumulated experience that we've both had over the years, being in real estate for many, many years. So what you'll find over the weeks, every Wednesday mostly, are 20 minutes of real life experience, insights, tips, and tricks so that a buyer can be better and a seller can be even better than that. Now, one of the guiding principles was that it was going to be live and not heavily produced. And at the slight price of production values, keeping it live is the main thing. Now, I'm going to have to do things like look down to the right because I've got a keyboard. Oh, I've got to put the banner up. And I'll be fielding comments, and we will be having, just like television, we'll have an episode, a 20-minute real estate briefing previously recorded, actually previously today, so that you'll be able to enjoy what amounts to a 15-minute, 20-minute briefing. Don't hesitate to send in comments. Let me hit the comment thing so that if you have any questions, you see the scroll, send us an email, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, especially because we need the stats, and it's Instagram every week, actually twice every week. We post a photo of local landmarks and challenge our followers to guess where that landmark is. So I think I'd better get myself ready to segue into the pre-recorded 20-minute briefing. And let's see, let me get this off. And so I will be introducing Clark and Denise. Let's do this thing by going here and going here. Hello, I'm Clark Farley.
And I'm Denise Fasaro. And
I'm getting tangled up chronologically speaking, but the other Clark would have warned you about that ahead of time. So Denise, this is what are we doing?
This is our 20-minute real estate briefing that we're going to do in 15 minutes because Clark already talked for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and she did. She stepped all over my line, which would have been welcome to the 15-minute, 20-minute real estate briefing.
Of course, I said it, so we had to say it again.
Yeah, because I made it up. They probably laugh more at your version. So we previously recorded, as they say on television, the topic we were discussing, because we had a guest plan for tonight, but scheduling got in the way of that. So they'll be here next week or perhaps the week after. So we were coming up with topics, and we thought, all right, we just got a new listing. I think we mentioned in the commercial, and we've made progress on that. We're up to the first showing within a couple of days, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we put it on yesterday, and we have a showing scheduled for Saturday.
So this will be an interesting thing, but we thought since we started this whole project out with the idea that we've got experience, rather than lecture you on the ABCs of real estate, we'll take our experiences and plug them into a format that lets people get useful information.
Exactly. So where do we start?
So let's talk about to the sellers. Hey, Mr. Seller to be. We'll give you a description of what the process was to get this house that we're referring to. It's on Post Road in Westerly. What the process was with an eye towards the kinds of things you, the seller, can do to get ready for the process.
Right. So one of the things that you'll have to do is required by Rhode Island law is complete disclosures. So you'll need some information ahead of time to do that to the best of your ability, because the more you can disclose about your property, as I tell my sellers, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the better it is for the person who's buying it, and the less that comes back later in the end to become part of negotiations. So we'll provide, or any agent would provide, a seller with seller disclosures.
Well, what the 20-minute briefing advises, as Denise just did, is get ahead of it. Do that as soon as you're in a position to have the paperwork, because the questions will be kind of ridiculous in terms of sometimes redundant, and multiple choice, by the way. And essay questions too on our.
There is
for our-
not.
Yes, there is. There's a whole block.
Yes, there is.
Oh, yeah. Do you have
Expand-
anything else to say? Yeah. Okay.
Expand and contrast. Anyway, the idea of the stress reduction has to do with gather your information ahead of time. As Denise just said, more information is better than less. It can't do any harm to the process, frankly, because whatever you have for issues in the house are going to be there, if not now, then on inspections.
And things you don't think of, like,
Mm.
have you done any improvements on the house since you've lived there?
Do you have
Did you have permits? Did those permits get closed?
Good point.
That's a big deal. I have a house that I just went and did a home inspection on, and it's obvious that the deck was added later. My clients want to know, did they pull a permit for that deck? Was it done legally? And also, is the permit closed on it? Because if the permit's not closed and my clients close on the house, then they're now responsible if something happens and that deck wasn't permitted properly.
Yep.
So those are things that, I had actually looked up my own house and found that I had a permit that was
Open
still
permits.
open from like 20 years ago.
Yep.
Because I've been there a long time, never had a reason to look it up. So there are things like that you can do. Check if you have easements on your property, get a copy of the easement so that we have something we can explain to.
And your agent will be able to help you with that kind of thing. Everything's online, but
Mhm.
Easements, rights of way, that's. Just thought I'd add something, because I don't know what else to do, sit here and drink coffee. And probably nothing of value other than practicing and playing with this format. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Let's go back to our program already in progress. Sort of thing, plat maps. I mean, they're readily available, but if you have them gathered, it makes your agent's job a lot easier.
Well, it gives us more information to give to potential buyers.
Yeah. I like the thing about open permits, because nowadays, no matter how competitive and, oh my God, I got to buy this house people are, any agent worth a license is going to be saying, okay, do you have the permits? Did you close the permits? Did you do it right? Because when they buy your house and close, then they've inherited any issues that go forward.
Yeah, the other thing is, I got a call from an agent yesterday telling me that I made a mistake on our new listing. She said to me, that's in a town water district. And I said, well, the owner says it's a well. And she said, no, it can't be. It's in the town water district. And I said, well, the owner has a well and she doesn't pay town water bill. So I guess it is a well. So even real estate agents sometimes aren't totally aware of a house's individual differences.
Mm-hmm.
One of the agents in our office one time sold a house that was in the sewer district. And everyone just assumed that the house was in the sewer district, including the person that had been living there.
Yep.
Well, when the inspection happened, they found out that there was a cesspool on the property that the previous owner, or maybe the one before that, never hooked up to the sewer at the time that it was done. So for at least one owner, maybe more, no one ever pumped it.
Wow.
Because they thought they were on city sewer. I don't know why they didn't figure out they didn't have a sewer bill, but that's what happened. So it is good to get the information before. So what happens to those people doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, and taking direction from your agent is, you can apply your efforts to that kind of work to get ready to put it on the market, because it's more about keeping things as bump free as possible. We talk about that on the marketing side more, is you don't want anything negative to happen until as late as possible, in the sense of drive up. When any agent will tell you start with the curve and work your way in. We've talked about that before. And the same with information too, because if there's something negative, then you get it up front, and then they see it ideally before they even see your house.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because we deal with
and sometimes you can fix it.
Yeah.
So it isn't a negative, but finding out after the inspection or finding out, a week before closing, that you just don't want to do that. You want to deal with it ahead of time
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
can,
it's-
especially if you've lived in the house a long time. You may not be aware of the issues.
Yeah.
So it's good to do a little bit of research or ask your agent to do a little bit of the research if that's, if you want town records or something like that.
Because there will be the physical things that no one other than an inspector might detect in inspection. But the idea is that when you get to the inspection portion of the process, all the energies are way cranked up.
Mhm.
And so having there's an easement running through the property and right through the living room, that will be a bigger issue for a buyer because all of the energies are
And
higher
he's
than it would be.
exaggerating. I've never seen an easement run through someone's living room.
I'm trying to decide whether I have or I'm willing to make that up.
I think you made it up.
He's willing to make that up. He's probably correct. In full disclosure. So the information part,
Mhm.
that's the thing the agent has to do, should do, you want to do just to keep those stress levels down.
For you as well as for your buyers.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the marketing side, which then involves mostly photography and first impression stuff. We've done a couple of briefings on those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
Uh,
also do in other markets. We have not had time to do postcards for this market to say we have a new listing because things are going so quickly. But typically in a typical market, we will send out postcards to your neighbors, or sometimes if it's depending on the location, we may decide this is a buyer from a different location. So
Yep.
we may send postcards out to a different location. But flyers are another thing that we often do, put a flyer in front of the house so people driving by might have some interest. Again, in this market, we haven't done it as much because by the time we get the flyers done, we already have an appointment.
Yeah.
So,
And then things like the external marketing things like signs, as Denise says, brochures, depending, and in this case, we have a long driveway that's used in common by other properties. So arrows, there's a lot of the steps that you look to your own property to decide where best, or your agent will help you decide where best to have a sign, unless you're in that 1.0% of the population who seems to come into this with, no, I don't want a sign. I heard about one the other day.
I just had that. I did talk him into it though, because his house is hard to find, and not having a sign would have been very difficult. But people drive by and they see signs and they call the number on the sign. So I don't know why people don't want to have signs. I mean, it's much better than it had in the newspaper because people don't get as many newspapers anymore, but people do drive by and see signs. So it is a very effective tool.
Well, and that's sort of the underlying rationale here is, now we're addressing you, the seller, is that all of the efforts will be directed towards getting your property in front of as many qualified buyers as possible.
Right. I mean, obviously, we all know today the internet is the best way to get your information out there. And we do a lot of social media marketing. We do a lot of marketing on other sites that are known for real estate. So all of that gets done, but the sign is like the next second effective way, other than the internet, I would think, other than us. You know, that's your way of getting it done. So. So after we talk about marketing and all that, what's the next thing every owner wants to know about? How much is my house worth?
Oh, yeah. But that's another show, because in theory, if you're following our advice, as you should be, you've learned about market value even. Just a quick note that where I didn't seem to believe in the internet in terms of marketing, it's not quite the impression I meant to give. The internet is a fabulous tool. Denise rightly points out, though, the basics, sign, print ads even, but mostly the sign for the basic kind of tools are the way to go. Let's rejoin them. Click. Well, before the time you get into signing a listing agreement, huh?
Well, one of the things you can prepare yourself for is to do some research yourself on what the market values are by looking at things that have sold.
Hmm.
What your neighbor has the house on the market
Yeah.
for isn't what your house is worth.
Huh.
It's what your neighbor sold their house for, may be a comparable to your house.
Yeah. So I was thinking more along the lines of the other factors would be the logistics of a house that's being occupied versus in the case of a person who has a vacant house or even tenants. The three kind of scenario.
Oh, I see what you're saying about
And-
arranging for showings and all those kind
Well,
of things.
photos first, showing second.
Okay.
scheduling.
Photos are a big deal when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have other people living in your house.
Yeah, Denise is a big fan of depersonalizing a occupied house. So the idea is to pack up all of personal photos and the time you won second place in the junior high school science fair. That really
Yeah.
would be
I think that
spectacular.
Clark has also always said the rule of three: don't have any more than three things on any flat surface.
Yeah.
Basically, the truth of the matter is your belongings can be distracting. They're coming to buy the house, not your belongings. And no matter how wonderful your decor is, and it could be gorgeous, that also could be distracting because we're trying to sell a house. Now, a house with furniture, in my opinion, is easier to show. It's much better for pictures
Mhm.
because you have some three-dimensional. You can see when you have a bed in the room
Yeah.
how big the room is. If you've got a bed, two bureaus, an armoire, you can tell that's a big bedroom. But if you're just taking a picture of an empty room, it's kind of flat. So I think, if we can get pictures with some furniture in it, it's great. Some people believe in staging, and that could be an option as well.
But bottom line is, despite your own thoughts on the current market, people are not going to buy it until they come inside of it.
Right.
You want photos that aren't awful.
Right.
Yeah.
And many realtors do not take good photos.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I mean, if I have a picture of a bedroom and all I can see is the bed, we're not selling the bed. We're selling the room. So if your agent doesn't at least have a wide angle lens, that's
go buy
kind of
them
a
one.
problem.
Go buy them one.
But we have professional photographers do our pictures. In this market, we've been doing some of our own because it's so quick again. But we have been doing pictures for a long time.
Mhm.
So we take that into account, and we both have wide angle lenses.
And staying on the theme of is still an accelerated market, and we could go for 15 extra minutes on the state of the market. Yeah, I'm watching the time here because this is a 15-minute, 20-minute real estate briefing.
Mhm.
Is the idea that showings, especially if you're an occupant, it's yours to decide consistent with your goal. If you wanted to sell it right away, you would be willing to show it any time. However, not showing it with notice. In this kind of a market, the current thinking is, oh my God, I got to get my people in. It's the summertime. It's raining and they have nothing to do. We're in a beach area. That's the joke there. But notice is not a killer. Asking for 24 hours notice, I will maintain, is not a killer.
We don't agree on that.
We don't.
I tend to, if my owners are willing to have last minute showings, I always say to them, try to give you 24 hours.
Yeah.
But if someone calls me and wants to see it in 2 hours, I'm going to call you and ask you. And if it's okay,
wow.
it's okay.
We owe that duty to our fiduciary, the seller in this case. However, I would maintain that the seller should understand that if they do not show it on zero notice, and probably not losing a sale.
No, I don't think you'd lose the sale. People typically can accommodate a different time.
Yeah.
Also, as far as if you have renters, renters are tougher to take pictures with. Not
Running a
because
little
they're
bit long.
any different than anything else. They just don't
We're running a
clean
little
up
bit
the way
long.
you would.
Mm-hmm.
They're not ready to pack yet.
And this is
They may
more
not
for
wanna
the
leave.
season.
Let's
Is this
try
more of an market area?
Right. Well,
Let me try this. We're running a little bit long, and I know how much Denise does not like us to run long. I'm seeing on my screen 19 and a half minutes. So let's try to get real fancy and do something like this and something like, we'll see if we can get these guys to wrap it up. Right at 16:07. Let's go. In arranging, you do what you can to have it
and 48 hours.
Yeah.
Again, you won't lose the sale for
Come
that.
on, take it on.
There's always someone.
So this could be, interrupt for a second, like a serial on top of a series, because we're doing 20-minute real estate briefing series. But this topic will come back
we just
maybe a
touched
week
on it.
after. This is
Yeah, we just touched on getting ready, and we haven't even gone the whole.
That's right, because we're running out of time.
We are
In the future, no,
tonight.
in the past.
Yes,
We're
we
talking to
are.
you from the past right
Yes,
now.
we are.
The clock on the rest of the screen is in real time. So
Mhm.
let us say goodbye.
And don't forget,
Oh.
check us out on. You already
Yeah,
did
I
it.
got to run this little here in case you have a
Oh,
question.
You
Give us a
already
call.
forgot. Are we
What?
still on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hurry.
Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, and subscribe to us on YouTube, and also on
Wherever.
Instagram.
Yeah. Instagram's good. Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye. Okay, let me wrap this up. Thanks, Alex. I just got a last minute comment from one of our viewers, Alex, and he was asking if we could get all three of us on the screen at the same time next week, because the idea of inviting people on, since we're getting a little more of a handle on the technology, I'll live to regret that kind of overconfidence. So I will end this thing by saying follow us on Facebook if you would. Go to YouTube, like us there, and subscribe also. That's a big thing. And Thursday's one of the two Where in South County Are We days. So there'll be a new photo of a new place, not new to South County, new to you. And then Sundays. So thank you for joining us. Thanks to Alex and Phyllis and the other people who are out there that I don't see the names of. We will see you next week at 5:30. Bye.